All right, it seems like we're live in every single platform, so I think we're ready to get started, Carol. Have fun.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to my live art show today. And I have Juan from Art Storefronts helping me out with the artwork and getting questions that people are asking so that I can answer them. And my name's Carol Walker, and I'm an artist, horse photographer, and wild horse advocate. And I started my business in 2000, photographing horses. And in 2004, I became a wild horse advocate once I realized that wild horses were facing tremendous odds not being able to stay out on public lands. And I decided that I was going to do whatever I could to help. And so I started letting people know about the horses, that they are uniquely suited for the public lands that they're on. And I did my first book, Wild Hoofbeats, about wild horses, just to get the word out. So now I use sales from my artwork and books to support my advocacy for wild horses. So I'm going to be talking about the pieces as I show them, and please do ask questions if you want to, and then I'll be talking a little bit about what you can do to help our wild horses here in America. So the first piece is a new one called Washakie's Name Flies Up. And Washakie is a wild stallion who was in the McCullough Peaks herd. He passed just last year, and he at 22, and he is one of the most magnificent horses I've ever had the pleasure to meet. And he was very good at posturing and puffing himself up in front of other stallions to tell them to keep away from his mares. And this is a typical Washakie pose. And actually, most of the pictures I have of him, it's hard to see his eyes, but here the forelock is flying up and it's very dramatic. And this piece is number 2. It's 20 by 25. It's a metal print, and it's $325. So next is number 4. This is also a new piece, and it's called Blue Zeus and His Family. So Blue Zeus is a blue roan Pinto Stallion who was in the Red Desert complex of Wyoming. And this is his entire family out in the Red Desert. There is just an ear of Isis, the gray mare, but she's in there, and it's the whole family. And it's kind of fun sometimes to see long, narrow pieces because they fit in a certain way. And all of them were rounded up and removed from the Red Desert in 2020. And they're now at a sanctuary in Oregon, most of them. And my book, I was going to say, this one is number 4, Blue Zeus and His Family, 12 by 36. It's on metal, and it's $425. So this kind of segues into my book. This is my book, Blue Zeus. And you'll see if you go to the sale area, the shop area, that I have this book, and it's going to be signed and shipped to the US for free. And it comes with a bookmark. And then I also have a number of packages with my other books in the shop area. So you can get this book, and you can also get the other books signed as well. So the next one is also a new piece, Wild Stallion in the Clouds. So this stallion is, he's wild and free. He's still out in the Red Desert of Wyoming. He evaded the helicopters with his family, and he was on top of a hill on a smoky day, So the background's kind of diffuse, and it's a metal print, 24 by 36, and it's $3.95. And I first met this stallion in 2019. I drove up on top of this huge hill, and he came running toward me away from another stallion with his family. And I just thought he was an incredibly beautiful stallion. He's very Spanish in his look. And the next one is this one. It's called the Stallion and the Mare. And it's a little different from my usual photography. You probably noticed that I usually have lighter backgrounds and color, but this is a black and white piece, and it's kind of moody. It was on a very rainy day in Spain, and they had just let this stallion out with the mares, and he and this mare are meeting for the first time, and it's kind of a tender moment. I think it's kind of romantic, and it's a little darker, and it is 40 by 50 inches. It's 50 inches tall, 40 inches wide, and it's $6.95. So, and I have to say something about the prices of the pieces in the shop, in the sale, because everything is lower than you would find normally on my website, and some of it is quite a bit lower. And I tried to come up with some smaller pieces and some larger pieces, so there's a variety. The next piece is called Grace and Donata, and this is acrylic. And I have not had an acrylic piece in my shows before. So I'm going to show you the side so you can see the acrylic. Acrylic's really beautiful. And I think it shows off this piece really well, the colors of it. And Grace and Donata are in the Red Desert Complex of Wyoming. And Donata's daddy is a leopard Appaloosa, and they came close. This was in August, shortly after Donata was born. So it was really exciting to be able to see them. And I saw them last in November, and hopefully we'll see them soon again after this winter.
Hey, Carol, just a quick reminder here. I think it's good to let everyone know that these pieces are available for sale and, give some sales instructions if they're interested. Yeah.
Yes, so all of these pieces are for sale. And as you can see, they're all here. And so there's no wait time for production. I will be shipping these directly right after they're purchased within the US for free shipping. And so that you're going to have plenty of time if you're going to buy these as a gift for mom. So that's the benefit of having them right here. And Daddy's Girl is the next. It's 11 by 14. So this is Isabel and Misoon, Dad, and Sunflower, Mom. And they were in the Red Desert of Wyoming, also rounded up, but they're at a sanctuary in California, Return to Freedom. They've been reunited. And this one is 11 by 14 for $95. And yeah. Any questions so far, Juan?
Not so far. We have Rebecca saying, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing these beautiful spirits. They're also beautiful and full of natural beauty too.
Oh, thank you. Looking Glasses Autumn Portrait. Remember I said that Donata's daddy is a leopard Appaloosa? Well, here he is, or at least his head. That's a close-up of him. And he is a gorgeous leopard Appaloosa, lots of spots, and he's a very mellow boy. He won his first mare 3 years ago, and Donata is the first baby that's been an Appy. And he's also in the Red Desert Complex of Wyoming. During the roundup, the helicopters went overhead and he ignored them. So he he got to stay, and I'm very glad. And this one is 10 by 20. And it is 165.
Carol, we have Krista Andrews asking, "What's your next project?" and also saying thank you for all you do to bring awareness to the plight of the wild horses.
Next project, I was just talking to Juan about this. I started a podcast. It's called Freedom for Wild Horses, and it's available on Apple, iTunes, and all the regular places. And it's about wild horses and what we can do to keep them free. And so I've been working hard on getting some new episodes out. On Monday, I'm going to have another episode with Ashley Avis about her new film, Wild Beauty. So that's my new big project for right now.
And we also have another question coming from Instagram. I think it's from Sherry. She's asking what is a glossy metal print? And if we have
Oh,
it handy, I think it's going to be great to show it.
okay. Let's jump down to a glossy metal print. Let's see. Oh, let's see. This one. 2 Sable Island Stallions. It was going to be pretty soon. Yeah, it was going to be next. Number 15. So this is a glossy metal print. You can see it's shiny. And then this is the side, and there's a hanger in the back. So it's basically, they coat the metal with white, and then they print it on the metal. And it's great because you don't have to have a frame. So this is true for the acrylic and the metal. And the gallery wrap canvas, you don't need a frame either. So this one is 8 by 12, and it's 145. And actually, so this is my most popular piece. It was taken on Sable Island, which is an amazing place, off the coast of Halifax, Nova Scotia. They only allow 500 visitors a year, and you have to come by boat, helicopter, or plane. And these 2 stallions were clearly friends. I was standing at the water hole, and one of them comes running down the hill toward the other. And I was like, oh no, I don't know what's going to happen. And then they met up and they kind of grunted and pushed each other and moved each other around, but there was no animosity at all. And there was no fighting. So I had a feeling that, who knows, they might even be father and son. So it's an amazing place. It's a 42-mile long sand island, and the horses don't get rounded up. Parks Canada is in charge of it, and there's about 500 horses and a whole bunch of gray seals and birds, and the island is very remote and very peaceful, and it's a wonderful experience going there. Okay, 16 is Blue Zeus on the Move. So this is, again, Blue Zeus. And this is an 11 by 14. And that morning, he and his family were headed toward the water. And he was in the lead, and they were all following him. And it was a beautiful day in the fall, and that's why all the fall colors. So it's 11 by 14, and it's $95.
Carol, we have Sherry saying on Instagram if we can bring the pieces up closer to the phone so the people on Instagram can see them better. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I can do that.
There we go. Is that a
All right.
gallery wrapped or a wood print?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. This is a gallery wrapped canvas.
Awesome. It looks like a wood print. I love gallery wrapped canvas.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're very light, and you don't need to frame them, which is very cool. So the piece is ready to hang. You don't have to do expensive framing. It works out really well. Next one is Philly in the Lupine. This is 16 by 24, and this was taken in the Pryor Mountains of Montana. And this little filly was waking up from a nap. I actually sat down and waited for her to wake up, and the lupine and the larks were just gorgeous on the Pryor Mountains of Montana. Sorry, I lost my thing. And this piece is also quite quite well known, and it's $195. And you may have heard that the wild horses in the Prairie Mountains of Montana, the BLM has a plan to remove quite a few horses this year. So I'm trying to get as many people as possible to comment on the plan. And you can look on my website, wildhoofbeats.com, for more information on that.
Already another question from Sherry. She's asking if, excuse me, number 6, the wild stallion, has a white background.
Number 6. Oh, this one. No, it's not white. It's actually, it's not quite white. Let me show you. This is white. So it's not quite white. It's kind of a pale, kind of almost a pale pinkish blue. Hard to describe, but it's very light, but it's not completely white, if that answers the question, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you.
And this is Picasso Runs Up. And this is a 10 by 10. And Picasso is the icon of Sandwash Basin. He lived into his 30s and was just a magnificent stallion. And people all over the world know about the Sandwash Basin herd because of Picasso. So this one is 10 by 10, and it is $95. And then I have another Picasso piece. This one's on metal, so you'll see the difference. That was gallery wrapped canvas. This is metal, 11 by 14. And you can see the sides and the back. And this was the first time I met Picasso in the wild. He and his family had just had a morning drink, and they started moving away from the water hole, and I stood and waited, and he walked quite close to me, and I was absolutely thrilled. I thought he was one of the most beautiful horses I'd ever seen. And this piece is $175. And then we have another Blue Zeus piece, and unfortunately Instagram is not going to be able to see it, but it's right here, and that one's 12 by 18, and this is him looking at me, and just a beautiful portrait of him on gallery wrapped canvas. And then this is called Nuzzle. I think this is the ultimate Mother's Day piece. This is Trade Bead and Tonkawa. Trade Bead was an amazing mother in McCullough Peaks, and she passed away a number of years ago. And her boy Tonkawa, with his beautiful blue eyes, he's still out there, and he's a lieutenant in a family right now. And here they're just having a very tender moment, and the blue sky and everything. And it's 8 by 10, and it's $80. So it's a nice little piece. This is also another McCullough Peaks family. This one is 42 all legs. You can see why I say all legs. There's a lot of legs there. And this is actually Remington, who's still in the McCullough Peaks herd. And he's all grown up now. And it's amazing that these foals can get up and run shortly after they're born. And number 29, the same family. So you can see, hi, Charlotte. This is Charlotte. She's coming to check on me. This is Pinto Family. Also, it's 8 by 10 and $80. And this is Remington, Trade Bead. I I'm forgetting the names. Ruger, that's right. So it's three generations. Mom, daughter, her baby, and her baby. So, and that's one of my favorite pieces. So it's kind of nice. I've got a couple of acrylics in this show. This is Byron, coming to see. A couple of acrylics. This one is called Flying at Sunrise. And you can see on the sides that it's acrylic. And it's a little one. I have a larger one also on the wall of this one in metal. But this one's acrylic. And what happened was in May last year, I was up on the mountain in Salt Wells Creek, Wyoming, and there were probably 100 horses, and they all started running toward the water. It was the most amazing sight, and the sun was coming up in the background, and you could you could feel the thundering of the hooves as they ran by. And it was just one of the most amazing sights I've ever seen. And so this, this one is Flying at Sunrise, and it's 4x17. And, geez, okay, there it is. It's 155. Let's see. Oh, and then on that same day, this is called Hope. And just kind of my hope for wild horses that we're able to save them, that they're able to stay on their public lands where they belong. That's just how I felt when I saw this mare in her foal running in front of the sunrise. And this one's 8x10 and $80. Oh, so this is also a Salt Wells Creek horse. This is Silverado, and it's 16x20. So Silverado is just a gorgeous stallion. And here he is pawing in the water hole because there was another wild stallion nearby. And the horses really enjoy going in the water holes in the summer to cool off and to drink, and sometimes a little playing, sometimes some fighting. So this one is Wild Silver Dapple Stallion, Silverado, 16x20 for $195. And it's a gallery wrap canvas. And Corona and Cheyenne. So Corona and Cheyenne were in the Sandwash Basin herd. And Cheyenne was Corona's lead mare for many, many years. I actually saw them rounded up together. Their whole family rounded up in 2008. And Corona and Cheyenne found each other after the roundup. They were both released. And they were together for a very long time. And so this is an older image of mine, but it was taken at sunrise. And it's a gallery wrap canvas. And then this one, a little different. This is two black stallion friends. These are not wild. This is was taken in Portugal, and this is an Arabian stallion, and then this is a Lusitano stallion, and they're meeting for the first time. And the Arabian stallion was very nervous before he met the Lusitano stallion, and then once they got to be friends, he got much more relaxed, and they're buddies. So this was taken in Portugal in a pasture right after they had met up. And it's actually at a sanctuary that takes stallions. And this one is 16x24 gallery wrap canvas, and it's $195. And then next is 49, the Wild Family on metal. And this is one of my favorite images. And this is a beautiful mare and her colt and her new foal. And the colt's looking to her for reassurance. This was in Palomino Buttes in Oregon. And I was there in the very early morning. This is before sunrise. And I sat down and the horses came right up to me and they watched for a while. And I had never met them before, but I was very thrilled that they were willing to come close. And this one's 11 by 14, and there is also an 8 by 10 of this piece in metal, and it's $155. Oh, and I missed one. This is also not wild. These are two Andalusian stallions, and they're friends. And this is the older stallion. This is the younger, in front of the Bougainvillea in Spain in a courtyard. And they were really nice to pose. And this older stallion is very gentle and very patient with the other stallion. So I really enjoyed spending time with them. This one is 11 by 14, and it's $95. That was odd. Okay. Then on Instagram, I'm sorry, but this piece is called the Wild Family on the Move, and it's a metal print. And so the story behind this piece, when you go on the sale, when you go to the sale link, you'll be able to see the piece. It's there are 3 stallions in this family, and it's clearly a new family. It was formed after the roundup because there aren't the way that you can tell it's a new family is there aren't any 1 or 2 or 3 year olds. And there's just this year's babies. So there's 3 stallions. They couldn't figure out who was in charge. So I'm hoping, I saw them in just before winter, and I'm hoping this spring that maybe they figured out who's in charge. And just beautiful, really colorful family. And this one is 18 by 36, and it's $375. So I wanted to read a little something from my book, my new book. So Blue Zeus, the Blue Zeus book just came out a year ago. And it tells the story of Blue Zeus. I spent 3 years with him in the wild. He was rounded up, separated from his family, and then reunited with them. And the story of Blue Zeus is a story that represents all of America's wild horses. Pushed to the poorest of lands, having lost 22 million acres that was originally home, wild horses face eradication and extinction from our own federal government, from the Bureau of Land Management, who is tasked with protecting and managing them on our public lands. Last year alone, over 18,000 wild horses were rounded up and removed from their families, homes, and freedom, and the BLM plans to remove over 20,000 horses in 2020, also in 2023. The roundup in the Red Desert Complex in 2020 started on October 10th and ended on November 12th, 2020, with 1,900 horses captured, 10 deaths, 100 mares treated with birth control, and 197 horses released. The devastating roundup left families shattered, the desert almost empty of wild horses, and left me with an almost impossible task of finding horses that I knew and loved in the corrals at Rock Springs and Canyon City. And then Blue Zeus is an extraordinary horse, and he deserved to have been left wild and free to live out his life in the Red Desert of Wyoming. But all our wild horses deserve the same. They deserve our care and respect. They deserve to be managed in their homes with the least invasive and most researched methods available. We must speak out for them and create change to protect them. They are valuable in and of themselves and should not be a pawn for powerful political interests. Their wildness is a huge contribution to the soul of our nation and to those they touch with their wild spirits, their beauty, and their freedom. So this is the book. And all the books I mentioned, I will be signing them. And yes. So Juan, are there any more questions?
Yep, we still have one question from Sherry on Instagram. She's asking, why are they doing the roundups?
So the main reason behind the roundups right now is that the livestock interests. So ranchers who run cattle and sheep on our public lands at a very reduced price, they want all the horses gone. And there's been tremendous pressure for them to remove the horses, even from areas like the Pryor Mountains and McCullough Peaks this year. They're proposing removals there, even though they're very small herds and they're using birth control successfully. The BLM wants the horses' numbers reduced. And if they succeed in sterilizing them, which they are now using birth control that sterilizes wild horses, Gonacon, we're going to end up with herds that disappear or are not genetically viable and get wiped out. And this year also they're talking about zeroing out 2 herds in the Red Desert, Salt Wells Creek and Great Divide Basin. So when I think about, people ask me, how can I help? So the best way you can help is to educate yourself and let others know about what's going on with the wild horses. My wild horse education website is wildhoofbeats.com. I support American Wild Horse Campaign. I think they do a tremendous job, and they're actually going to be doing a lawsuit to stop this roundup and zeroing out of these horses. And talking to your senators and your representatives is always a good thing as well. And I also publish on socials and also on my blog on Wild Hoof Beats actions that you can take when it comes up. Like for right now, I'm asking people to make comments about the plan for the Pryor Mountain horses. And it's not an easy thing. You know, when I got involved in 2004, I thought, we'll save those wild horses in a few years. And of course, now it's 2023, and the horses are more in jeopardy than they ever have been before. So, but I firmly believe that if everyone who has gotten involved, thousands and thousands of people over the last 19 years, and they're supporting the horses. And I think that if people hadn't gotten involved, we wouldn't have any horses left. So although it may look like it's difficult to make progress, I think it's important to get the word out. I also wanted to mention, I always forget to do this, I have 3 adopted Mustangs of my own, and they're in my pasture. And one of them is from McCullough Peaks. He's the oldest, Cremoso, and he was rounded up and removed in 2009. And then I have Micah from Adobe Town, and he was rounded up and removed in 2010. And then I have Helios, who's my newest. He is just turning 3, and he was rounded up as a 6-month-old from the Red Desert Complex in 2020. And they live together. I don't ride any of them, but they're my friends, my buddies, and I enjoy having them here. But if I had my choice, they would all still be free, as much as I love them. And I knew them all as youngsters before they got rounded up. So I've known them for a long time. And Mustangs don't always have the best things happen to them once they've been adopted. Right now, with the adoption incentive program, the BLM is paying people $1,000 to take horses, and people are taking their money and dumping them at slaughter auctions. It's a very sad situation. And again, American Wild Horse Campaign is fighting against that to remove that so that the horses can be protected and only people who really want them to keep them will have them. So that's also a focus. So any other questions?
We have a comment coming from Krista Andrews saying beautiful words to describe this terrible situation. I hope you will use that as part of the comments to the BLM. Beautiful said, Carol. Beautifully said, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think it's a good time to remind people until when we are extending the sale, as well as talking about your new journey, your new project, your podcast. What's the name? Where to find it? And what you will be touching in that podcast. Okay.
Okay. So I will be extending the sale until Tuesday for Mother's Day, and that's that ending on Tuesday the 2nd. So still plenty of time to get your pieces for your mothers before then. And as I mentioned before, I started a new podcast called Freedom for Wild Horses, and it's on iTunes, Spotify, all the places that you find your podcasts. And it's basically about wild horses. I had Ginger Catherine's on talking about the priors. I had Ashley Avis on. That's going to come on Monday about her film Wild Beauty. And I've had Angelique Correa about the Red Desert Complex. And then I've also done several shows talking about the situation facing wild horses. And I'm going to have an episode about the holding facilities coming up in a couple weeks as well. And I try to interview people who have really good information to help people understand what to do about wild horses and how to help them. And also talking about my own experiences. There's another episode about families, wild horse families. So I'm just basically trying to get the word out and in another way because podcasts are becoming very popular and an easy way to spread spread information and educate people. Anything else?
Nope. I think that's it. So I think we're good to wrap it up.
So I just really want to thank you for tuning in. It gives me an excuse to do my favorite thing, which is talk about wild horses and share my art. I love to do that and love for people to be able to see how magnificent these horses are. So thank you all for coming. And please don't hesitate to reach out and ask if you have any questions about the items in the sale or actually about wild horses.
Awesome. We're off on